So we got Dan from East Midlands 360 Photo Booths here today. So obviously, it's a company that's been on the forefront of the photo booth industry. We'd love to connect with others who are doing exciting things. So Dan, do you want to tell us a bit about your business? Introduce it, East Midlands 360 Photo Booth.
Yeah, sure. So, East Midlands 360 photo booth has been going for just over 2 years now. I had my first event in July time, I think it was. Yeah, so June, July 2022. Probably done about 120 events since we started. Started out with just the one photo booth, 360
Yeah,
photo booth. We've now got two, plus we do an audio guest book. So it's slowly growing year on year, profits going up, bookings going up, getting busier. So that's what we like. Yeah, yeah.
definitely. No, that's good. And I mean, we're someone that, as a kind of industry leader for ourselves, doing the hire and a manufacturer, we've seen your growth, we've seen how good you are. Obviously, we've passed each other's bookings. So that's been really good to be able to work. So what trends do you think are currently you're seeing in the photo booth industry? I know in America there was recently a podcast by two American guys, Hustle by Drew and I think Rex Hang, and they were saying the 360 in America's dying off. I don't think
Mm.
in the UK, in my opinion, because I've been to a lot of networking events and also just general events where we've been doing the hire in the UK, and people still don't know what a 360 is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, no, I agree, to be honest. And I've had people within the industry ask me the sort of same thing. Do you think the 360 is going to die off in the UK? And I don't think it is. I get more inquiries than I did before. And I always think back to sort of the early 2010s when the selfie mirror first came out.
Mm.
Uh, that came out and blew up, and everyone wanted the selfie mirror. Everyone wanted to be able to like touch the different options on the screen. That is still a staple. Probably 15 years on, that is still a staple of the photo booth market. That's never gone away, and it's still very, very popular. My feeling is the 360 photo booth will be the same. It will always have its place now. Coming back to your question, though, is what is next? Something will come
Mm.
within the next probably 2 or 3 years. I know we've spoken about the glam bot before.
Yeah.
I've seen these sort of new video messaging booths, which is sort of a mixture of both, isn't it? A photo booth and a 360. Yeah, as with any industry, it's going to evolve, but my feeling is the 360 is going to be around for years to come.
Yeah, and from your experience, obviously for like new business who might be watching it and people that are thinking about getting into industry, which is a lot of what my subscribers are on
Yeah,
YouTube,
yeah,
are thinking about it. It's some hotels, some event companies, even, you're still seeing a demand for the 360 as well, and you still
yes,
a lot of bookings. That's good, so
yeah,
people can feel reassured in that way. So do you think like the trends have influenced the booking numbers as well? Because I know before, obviously, the our little chat and going on live, we were talking a bit about it being a bit quiet a few months before.
yeah,
Do you think like
yeah.
that to do with the trends of the 360 and the glam bot being promoted? Do you think it's affected it a little bit, or do you think it was more economic situations like the cost of living crisis we've had in the UK?
Yeah, I don't look into it too much from a point of view of it's just my personal experience. And I know because I've been doing it for over 2 years now, I know it can just go in peaks and troughs. So sort of, it can be quiet for a few weeks and then you like I've recently, you'll get like four bookings in one week. What is more important for me is like what I call the WIP, the work in progress, the bookings that I've got for in future. And that is always growing. Do you know what I mean? I've always tracked my bookings. I've always gone, how many have I done? How many have I got moving forward over what period of time and how much is that value? And that work in progress or future bookings is always growing. So I'm pretty much stacked out for most of this year. There's a bit of availability in sort of October and November. December is stacked out, both photo booths. I've got I've got bookings early next year through the summer next year. And then I've got a couple of weddings already lined up for 2026.
Wow.
So yeah,
Wow.
yeah, it's always good. It's good to be in a position to have, do you know what I mean, work in progress, future bookings. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, although you get periods where it can be a bit quiet. I mean, for example, a funny one I find is we've got a bank holiday coming up, and I
Mm.
don't have any bookings for the bank holiday, which I find mad because the first year I started, I'd only been going for about a month, and I had like five. I've been 1 or 2 months, and I had like 5, 6 people try and book me for that one Saturday on the bank holiday. So I would have put money on someone would have wanted to book me, and maybe someone still will last minute. But it's just it's funny like that. But yeah, I've personally my sort of my revenue had almost doubled from the first year to the second year, and it's probably going to be like a good 50-60% hopefully for the third year. Would love it to double, but I don't think it will double again. But I think I'll probably come in at about 50-60% hopefully. We just keep on doing that. I mean, if you think as a business, I mean, we are small operators, really. I know I am. I'm pretty much a one-man band. I've got a subcontractor or a contractor who works for me occasionally. But to be ideally, I mean, if you can get a 30% growth on your revenue year on year after 3 or 4 years, you're laughing sort of thing. So if I can try and keep it at least at 30-40% and just continue to grow, it's not as easy as just resting on your laurels, though. You've got to diversify, you've got to add, you've got to look to develop and stuff. But just in general, yeah, as long as you're seeing your revenue grow, then you're definitely doing something right.
Yeah, definitely. When do you think, like, for yourself, then, like, obviously looking at the trend that you thought it was the right time to get a second booth? Was it because obviously you were, was it just from marketing it and watching those bookings?
No, it was more. So my personal experience was, and it was a frustration more than anything. So, for example, I could be in May, and then like I've got 4 bookings in July, and then I could have like 5 inquiries, and then 5 inquiries were all trying to book me for them same dates that I'm already booked up. So I'm
Yeah.
having to turn work away. So there's this. I've always said to people the funny thing, and like we were just speaking about, really, I see the 360 photo booth, which is mainly what I focus on. I don't have other booths. I see that as really Fridays and Saturdays. Yes, you do get stuff in the week. Yes, you may get weddings on Sunday, but predominantly most people are going to be having weddings and parties on Fridays and Saturdays. And I've got 2 years of experience with that, so I know it's true. So on that basis, you've really got between 8 and 10 days a month where you should be definitely getting bookings, and then everything else I would say is a bonus basically. So with having 8 to 10 days, if you've got 2 photo booths and you can get them all booked out on all days in the weekend, then it obviously it makes sense. So that was the only reason I was turning away a lot of bookings.
Yeah.
But you can easily turn away bookings based on the fact of if you have 4 bookings in a month, to some degree, if it's a quiet month, you might be 50% booked because you're on them bookings are on them 4 popular days out of the 8 popular days, Fridays and Saturdays.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, that answers that. So, well, I think one of the biggest questions we're getting on the channel, so I wanted to put it into there, is like,
Yeah,
say,
yeah,
for buying a photo booth, not just from us, but even other companies, and they're struggling to get bookings. So, what advice would you give to someone like kind of facing that challenge? I think for me personally, the advice I always give people is that it's persistence. It's not gonna something that happens overnight. Um,
yeah,
I know for us, our first booking, I mean, I think we were very lucky. I think I had a whole month where every Thursday we'd go into this club in town. I think it's called Bar 11, and we'd do the
mm.
photo booth on a pay-as-you-go basis. But for me, it was like that was just getting some marketing material, putting it out.
Yeah, yeah. It's giving you content.
Yeah, getting content. So, I mean, like, what was
Yeah.
your experience with it? It'd be really interesting. I'm sure viewers would love to know.
Yeah, so it's sort of, I would argue to some degree, I was a little bit lucky. So when I set up, I was like, right, and I made a list of, I had a business plan, I had a 3 year business plan to start with. So I did a detailed business plan. I knew that I had to create all of my socials, my Google page, Bing page, Yellow Pages. You want to try and increase your exposure everywhere. As part of me setting up my website, I got an email from Bark, and they were giving me some free credits. I'd never really heard of Bark before, but in essence, what it was is people look for contractors, whether that be photo booths, plumbers, builders, or whatever, and then you can sort of bid to message them. So you pay 5-10 credits and you can message them. So I got these sort of 53 credits, and then I got like 3 bookings from it.
Oh,
So
wow.
to some degree, it was a little bit fortunate. So I was doing sort of paid bookings right from the get go, but that then just instantly led on to, once I had done them 3 bookings, I had content. Um, and then I started doing wedding fairs. So, but the main thing, coming back to your question, the main thing I would say is like you've just said, you've got to be persistent. Like if you're looking to start your own little business, no one's going to do the work for you.
Mm-hmm.
No one's going to put in the hours. The work's not going to always come to you. In an ideal world, you would be able to sit back and the bookings would just flow. No, you've got to be active on social media. You've got to be looking to innovate, whether that be Google ads, Facebook ads, wedding fairs, doing sort of free events, charity events. You've got to put yourself out there, but you've got to be persistent and you've got to be and consistent, basically persistent and consistent in you are ultimately responsible for getting the work in. You know, you can't just sit back and feel that people are going to sort of come to you. And there's a lot more entailed in it. One thing is I always pride myself on is always trying to deliver like the best service in communication, in response times, in speaking to the clients, in being flexible, in the time it takes me to return the web galleries to how I present the emails. Everything should be done to look professional, courtesy, polite. That will naturally lead, I would say, that would naturally lead to repeat bookings. If you are seen to be and are ultimately, so it's not necessarily a persona I'm putting on. I want to deliver the best possible job and service I can do.
Yeah.
When people then looking for photo booths and someone's booked you, they can go, oh yes, we had East Midlands 360 photo booth. He was on the ball. He did everything we wanted to. We could change this, and that's where you're going to, as well as get new bookings, get repeat bookings, get referrals. That's the sort of stuff where it starts to compound and starts to build your business.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer. It's definitely something probably the same way as I would say we kind of grew it as well. And I think for us, networking's been a massive thing as
Mm.
well. I mean, networking's a difficult one if you're starting out and you're doing it around the job, which we were, at the start of it. It was very hard to get to networking because a lot of them in our area in the Midlands where we are, they're either 7 a.m. or they're like 3 o'clock. So it's like
Yeah.
it was really difficult, but there was a couple of networking groups you could do it like 6 or 7. Um, so I mean, I think networking is a massive one to do in it, but charity is a really good one you mentioned as well. Like we still do 2 charity events a year, and
Yeah. I try to do one a year. Try to at
yeah,
least do one a year.
and I think it builds your presence in the local community. So
Yeah. Well,
um,
I did one. I did a charity event last year. Sort of, it was. I think it was sort of Northampton way. So it was a bit of a drive, to be honest. But just from doing that charity event, I got 3 bookings from it. I got a wedding, and then that wedding led to a birthday, and that birthday led to another wedding. So it's funny. It has its rewards as well as giving back. It also has its rewards. It's also an opportunity to find bookings as well. Yeah.
No, that's really good. I mean, it's great that obviously you can share those strategies as well for people that are trying to get into the industry because I think that's one of the biggest questions we're getting asked as a manufacturer when we sell the photo booths is like, hey, I've marketed it, I've gone Instagram, hey, I'm not getting any bookings, and I think there's that level that people need to be a bit more persistent with it. Um,
Yeah.
by with us, what we do is we obviously give them a marketing masterclass. So it's done by a guy called Rudy Meyer, and he's worked with a lot of people, quite successful people. So they're a little bit better off. And then we give them a list of all the software so they know what they can and can't use as well.
Yeah.
You get a little bit more help from us, guys. The next question will be, can you share a story of a time when you faced a significant challenge, how you overcome it? We know we're going to get loads of unexpected things in the photo booth sector and event sector.
Yeah. So, I mean, fortunately, I've not had too many shockers, but that comes back to, being prepared.
Yeah.
Always making sure you've got your equipment, always making sure you've charged your equipment.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer, and this is a little bit of advice out to anyone who's, looking to get into the industry. Have a plan B, have a backup, have spare equipment, have spare screws, have spare brackets, have spare batteries, have a spare device, have a plan B. To some degree, have a spare software. I've got one operating system, but I do have a backup if should anything happen to that. And that is one way that you're going to alleviate any problems of having any major issues. However, that being said, when I first started this, like I said, I got my first booking through Bark,
Yeah.
as I was, and as everyone is always, you're so nervous. Your stomach's turning. It's like you just want to get that first booking out of the way. So I'm like, for the whole week, I'm at home, I'm testing, I'm testing, I'm testing. Yeah, it's working, right? Share, yeah, it's working, brilliant, right? Pack everything away. Day of the event, drive to another city, get there. Never knew to ask about stairs, did I? So I've got 3 flights of stairs to tackle. They don't have a lift. Okay, we'll deal with this problem. So there you are, carrying a 40-kilo photo booth up 3 flights of stairs. I get up there, go, right, let's crack on. So I plug it in, plug the plow on, go to turn the power supply on. There's no power to photo booth. Well, it's the first event, so you panic, don't you? You think it's something that I'm doing. I'm like, oh my God, what's wrong with the booth? So I quickly unplugged it and then plugged in one of my LED lights, plugged the LED light in. That didn't work. So I thought, it must be the plug sockets. So then I had to go and find the bar manager. He had to go to the circuit board, not helping with it being your first event. He
Yeah.
finally sorts that out. I'm like, right, that's the second problem sorted. Then come to screw the arm attachment to the photo booth, and I cannot find the screws for love nor money. I cannot find them. They are not in my box. Couldn't find them. So I'm like panicking. I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Thankfully, my mother-in-law was at my house looking after my daughter. Rang up. I said, there isn't a bag of screws sitting anywhere in the dining room table, is there? She says, yeah, there is. So I had to get the mother-in-law to jump in a car and drive over as fast as she could. Thankfully, it was only about a 20-minute drive. And thankfully, she got there. In the end, ultimately, we started the event on time, all worked, and everyone was happy. But coming back to sort of your question and any sort of problems you faced, you can alleviate ever having to have any problems by making sure you've got all your equipment before you leave the house, and you've got spares and backups for every single piece of equipment. Should anything go wrong, you can still operate.
Yeah, definitely. And I would say that's so important. And I'm telling all the new photo booth owners who buy from us, we go through a video, like a video call with them. We do a little bit of onboarding. But one of the key things it is testing your software. Don't get to your first event and be testing your software. And like with us, we're the same as you, Dan. Like we've got spare screws. We've even got a spare plug for the machine. I
Yeah.
know like a while ago, I don't know if you still have it, but I think you might have said to me as well when we were talking. I think you've even got spare arm, haven't you? Like for the three.
Spare arm, spare motor, spare belt, yeah, everything.
So
The big reason for me was, and this was more before I had the second booth, but thankfully it's all the parts are compatible with both. But I was coming into a Christmas period last year, and it was going to be my busiest month ever. And I thought, God, if something goes wrong at one of these events, I'm going to have to cancel all of this work, because it's going to take a couple of weeks for me to potentially get hold of parts, or it might require a welder, or it could be the motor and it's a unique motor. So I just thought there's no point. You can deal with potentially losing one event, but if you don't have spares and something goes seriously wrong, that's going to put you out of the game for a couple of weeks. It's a busy period, you're going to feel it. So that was wise. I did not want to run into Christmas period last year with like 3 or 4 bookings a week for the 4 weeks up to Christmas and get caught out short and have to cancel all of it. So
definitely, and anything can happen. Like we had it. Like actually, me and Dan had re-recorded another interview a while ago that was going to go into our mentor and going out to the photo booth, the guys who buy the photo booths with us, but someone spilled a drink on the laptop, at an event. So
yeah,
it
yeah,
can happen, guys. We've had little kids that have had like fruit shoots and spilled them on the wire of the 360.
yeah, yeah,
And then you're like, oh no, you don't want to plug it in. So boom, if you've got a reserve, that's possible. And for anyone that does buy with us, obviously you can buy the spare arm. Um,
yeah, yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's a really, really good point. So what do you think's one of been like the most successful events or collaborations you've done, and what do you think made it so successful?
Um, Collaborations probably not as much. I mean, the biggest client really I've had is Amazon. I've done a couple of events for Amazon. We also did, it was pretty cool actually. We went to one of their big distribution units here in Nottingham, basically, thousands of employees, and they booked us out for the day. So as employees were coming in on the sort of the run up to Christmas, they could jump on the 360 in between starting work and finishing work. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, that one was pretty cool. But yeah, it's more like another thing I would probably say is sort of always give everything. Always give everything when you're at an event. Like
yeah,
David Rodriguez, I think you know him, don't you? For the guy
yeah,
from America. So when I first started that, I learned a lot of my stuff from him, and he makes a very very valid point in most of his videos is that you're sort of a director, you're a producer at these events. You're not there to just stand there and go, jump on guys and press the button. You want to get the best video possible every time. So, I try to be very relaxed. So I'll sort of say, oh, what do I need to do? And it's a case of, well, you can strike a pose. I'll even say, you can have a bit of a dance,
yeah,
try and make them relax, try and make eye contact with the cameras. Good ones are always eye contact with the cameras. You want to be able to direct the users to get the best video possible. And every video you do, you should be aiming to look as good as it can look. If the lighting's too high, turn the lighting down. If the lighting's too low, turn it up. If the camera's too close, move it back, vice versa. Make a conscious effort when you're at these events to look at how the video looks and analyze it and say, is this as good as it can be? Do I need to change anything? Do I need to zoom it in, zoom it out, move the camera up, move it down, change the lighting, move the lighting? Make a conscious effort to make sure that every single video is as good as it can be.
yeah. No, I've got to agree with you there. And I think that's why doing test shots and a test video, obviously, as soon as you set up is really, really important.
Yes.
For some of the users that like might not have known you've worked with Amazon, they might not have checked you out. Like, how did that come together? Was it like one way Amazon found you or
Yeah. Amazon founders. So we're sort of like I mentioned earlier. I've tried to brand my business in as many places as possible. So obviously, I'm on Google, I'm on Bing, I'm on Yellow Pages, Instagram, Facebook. Technically, I'm on TikTok. I was on LinkedIn. I do actually have a YouTube channel, not updated as often as I should do, but sort of try and branch out everywhere. And yeah, thankfully they contacted. Well, initially, in fact, it was a events company that Amazon used who had contacted me. So the first event was for the events company, but then Amazon themselves then booked me for 2 events direct after that.
brilliant? So is there anything you think you'd go back to, like if you could rewind time with your business, for some common mistakes, maybe like for new business owners that they might have come across or you thought you might have made with it? Is there anything you would have changed with the way that you started it?
Um, Probably not. No, everyone's got their own way of operating. You know, and everyone's got their own circumstances, haven't they? So, I juggle this with a sort of a semi part-time, full-time job. So
Yeah,
I'm juggling it at the same token. So I'm not necessarily throwing all of my time into it. I throw a lot of my time, but not all of my time into it. And I like to be, I'm very meticulous and detailed in sort of what I like to do, and I don't like to rush into anything. So I won't just throw everything in and just go gung ho. I like to be quite controlled, so I may not be as quick, but it's not really anything I would change. It's just how I operate, basically. But yeah, one thing I probably would say is, which I'm more conscious of now, is to make sure that I will always be looking to expand. Don't rest on your laurels. Don't, yeah, we're at a nice little point here. We're getting regular bookings. We're making decent money. Like, no, always look to keep on growing. Even if you're growing 10-15% year on year, you've got to look to just keep on growing. And whether that be diversifying, adding packages, looking at the rates, the portfolio, the distance covered, whatever it be, just always be looking to grow. And that's probably one area where it's sort of, I'm going to try and keep a bit more of an eye on it, basically.
brilliant. No, I think you've given a lot of insight. So thank you, Dan, for your time.
My
From
pleasure, mate. Pleasure.
we're going to put in the YouTube video description your details as well, so
Yeah,
people want to
of
check
course.
it out, even book with you, they can go and do that.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, so yeah, really appreciate your time, mate, and obviously your opportunity to give really good, clear insight for other people. Obviously, yourself as a leader in the industry, so shout out to you and big thanks
Yes.
for coming on.
Well, on that thing, on one final comment, one thing that I have genuinely enjoyed about the 360 industry is I talked to quite a few operators, and the vast majority of people, yourself included, S Party 360, I've got companies I speak to up north and south, everyone tends to sort of look out for each other to some degree. I've shared sort of risk assessments and method statements. People have shared like unique overlays and stuff. You sent me bookings, I've sent you bookings. If I can't do it and I'm trying to help someone out, well, contact Luxe 360, vice versa. So there's a lot of industries outside of the sort of photo booth event industry, which can be quite nasty when it comes to competitors and stuff. And thankfully, I don't think we really have that too much here. But I also think it's important that, I think the industry as a whole would be a lot better if sort of everyone tries to look out for each other. Do you know what I mean? It's just going to have a better vibe. The industry is
Yeah.
just going to have a better vibe if everyone's sort of trying to look out for each other.
Yeah, sorry, I was going to say that. I mean, I think we're quite lucky in the Midlands because we have that good pat, like you're saying. Even up north, we find it. We do a lot of work up north, and it's
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
But no, it's a valid point to make. So, thank you a lot, Dan. Everyone, if you've got some value from Dan, like, subscribe. I need some comments, and if there's any questions, of course, you can put them in the comments as well. So
Absolutely.
subscribe to the channel. And again, big thank you, Dan, for coming on today. Really
Cheers,
appreciate
mate.
it.
Thank you.
Got some value from it. I shall let you go and enjoy the rest of your day, mate.
Nice one. Cheers, pal.